Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In our post-round 4 coverage, watching some of the games that we haven't really seen a lot of. These are generally lower-rated players. We'll try and cover a little more higher-rated players as well. We're just in this awkward period of the Wargame Cup where you're in between rounds, and we're not going to see new games for a while. So we'll continue with round 4 coverage until we get a nice amount of round 5 games to pick at. And we have a pact versus pact match today from Lastfox77 playing as blue, and playing as red we in fact have Oli. And I've never heard of either of these players. I have no idea what they're going to do, and that just makes it all the more interesting. So far though, it looks like we're going to see a lot of infantry, some tank destroyers here from Lastfox, and a little bit of anti-air, but not too much. And from Ol, we're going to see a lot of infantry and TO-55s. This could actually be a rush, an all-in rush here from Oli. I'm not seeing a second command, and yeah, there's 3 commands here for Lastfox77, so this could actually be very potent if he goes for an all-in. Something that's been very missing from the game is a lack of people who've been punishing people for playing greedy. I know there's actually a second command here, so it's not going to be crazy all-in. But he still will need to punish his opponent. His opponent is actually going for a high number of command counts. He's going for Charlie, he's going for Golf, and he's going for Alpha. These are probably the safest locations you can get, and he's actually been leaving some infantry behind. I don't know if this is actually intended to defend the command or not. Not really the best vehicles for defending that command. And he's just slowly moving his infantry into various locations. And we can see, actually going to be a very odd play. We're going to see 1 command at Echo and 1 command at possibly Hotel. That's just really weird. This could get used in some sort of play. That, of course, means he does have a closer rally to hit Golf. That's pretty advantageous. And we have seen a lot of plays involving this. And could see some sort of infantry rush through the woods, which has become relatively common for this map. There's very few ways in which infantry are good, and unfortunately when you're newer to the game you don't have access to the entire deck, and you make a lot of stupid choices. I know I did. And looks like these wide carriers are finally getting deployed and completely surrounding this giant group of tanks here. They should be able to do a fairly high amount of damage here. They are of course anti-tank infantries. There are a lot of tanks here. And there's 1 rocket, get some damage done, and that's just enough damage to give Lastfox a small lead, just a tiny lead. And now it's really on Oli to really push this force forward and do some damage. He has to do damage. If he doesn't do damage, he's going to fall too far behind. It's a consideration that a lot of newer players don't really put into the game. There are 3 commands here for Lastfox, and he's actually going to get greedy and go for the middle, all because Oli has completely allowed him to. He has most of his forces here and another here. When you look at the map and you say like, huh, his forces are completely split up between Hotel and Echo. Well, that means I can actually create a flank across the middle, and that's going to be the most secure flank I can make. And that's what he's doing. He's going to create a very secure flank around the middle, all the high value locations, as this push continues pushing forward. And whoa, we have all the infantry of Lastfox77 finally streaming in. If he can drop them on this location, that would be a very brilliant and potent victory. The transport helicopter might get gunned down by these troops. Are the troops? No, they're bukmis. As in, you can go book yourself. And he does have this really odd armored recon vehicle here. It's just really odd. I've never seen this BRM-1 get used. It's got some very odd high caliber rounds. I just have no idea about it. I'll be completely honest, I've never seen a tank. And he's actually moving his tanks into the infantry, which is a mistake. This will give the opportunity for these infantry to actually do damage. He has to drop them though. There are some TO-55s here to provide some cover. And he gets 1 big tank kill, gets 2 tank kills. Doesn't look like he's going to get enough though. It appears that he just didn't drop them in time. He honestly should have just moved into the middle field here and just dumped right on top. Still roughly even though. Oli did get a small boon from that pretty failed infantry rush, and realistically though, being even is not going to be good. Per Ollie is so far behind right now because of infrastructure. He needs to make a big play. He needs to get a command kill. He needs to get a significant points lead. He cannot just sit around and play. All the while we have Lastfox, who's actually taking positions along these woods, knows that his opponent is here, and he's just slowly creeping up with infantry. And as the game continues to advance, he'll be in worse and worse of a position. He has to actually get through a lot of Motostrelki, a lot of Vysakari, and he's actually going to lose a 4-pack of Vysakari to an 18. That's kind of scary, and it's already happening. The T-64A is moving a little bit close to his infantry. He's going to pull it back. Wise choice. You don't want to get too close to these infantries. You can lose a lot of expensive units that way. And actually, Lastfox is going to take a lead from this. So not only has Lastfox expanded 3 points, he has also done significant damage. As he continues to push these infantry forward, jungling is the key to this location. You need to have a lot of infantry. You need to have them deployed. You need to have them forward, but you also need something to protect your command from weird sniping problems. There's a lot of Vysakari and Motostrelices in the woods now, and he's using them mostly defensively right now, but eventually he will be moving into aggression. That is rallying infantry there. Actually, we have a third command on the map here for Per Ollie, who has decided to take also this Delta location. So he's taken a lot of reinforcement points, and he's completely ignored the high value for India and 5 Juliet points. But he will continue pushing this location. He could actually have some success with this, because there's actually not a lot of units here. He kind of needs his TO-55. It's smart he's defensively, but he kind of needs it. And he's actually going to get 3 artillery. Weird. Playing from behind, he gets artillery. It just bothers me that people do that. That's actually a thing. And, you know, he could randomly get lucky, and that's, I guess, what he's banking on right now. It's just random luck. And he's just firing on the 4 location, cleaning it out, making sure that this wood location here doesn't have anything in it. It's also a very common place to hide command armor, so it's actually a pretty smart area. The recon helicopter goes down. Lastfox takes a killer lead from that. Recon helicopters, of course, are very expensive. And he's actually forced to move his command armor because it's been spotted. And he's just got to maneuver it somewhere safe. Lots of supply trucks. Supply trucks are the counter. And whoa, here we go. Motostrelkis and Vysakaris, the big push that I'm talking about, in which mass amounts of jumbling, the big giant difference in income is really coming in here. The TO-55s are burning back these Motostrelkis and causing significant damage, and the push has actually been stopped. You see it, 8 Motostrelki from Ollie moving across. Shouldn't be able to do too much damage. And in fact, all this will get destroyed before the artillery fire can even hit. The battle is over. That's how little I like I think artillery is great. Oh my god, this is somebody else's artillery. This is actually crazy amounts of damage here by Lastfox. He has artillery of his own. And unfortunately, it's just poorly timed. He should have used that a lot earlier. The command armor is gone, though. So this point is kind of defended. And he doesn't have to worry too much about this flank anymore. He can put minimal forces. And that will allow him to refocus on this flank here, which is actually kind of vulnerable. There's a lot of tanks and whatnot moving on this location. There's 2 spawn points here. There's also a lot of these Conquerors coming out. Could be pretty dangerous. And he's actually doing exactly that. He's going to be rallying out a lot more units, trying to maintain this Charlie location. The Foxtrot location, not too scary right yet. And actually, he's got a lot of artillery. He's got 4 Danas right now. That's a lot of Danas. And this was actually far more successful than I gave it credit. I had no idea that the command armor was actually sniped even before I looked at it. And he's actually going to go after this very clumped group of units that are sitting outside of the Charlie location and stunning them all. That means that if he was trying to push out right now, it would be very, very uncoordinated. He has moved up his own artillery to do a little more effective coordinated fire. And here comes some T-55s pushing into the woods. If they had a recon here, they could actually wipe out that Motostrelki. Poor support helicopter. Is it actually out of fuel? Right, that doesn't make sense. They can't run out of fuel. He does need to get this out of here, though. It's like one of my biggest tips with RTS games. If you're doing nothing, you should be doing something. And so the second that Like, for me in this game, the last thing I always do is supply trucks. So I'll do everything and then I'll move my supply vehicles around. And here we go, Moto Strelsies versus anti-infantry vehicles. These no-gun anti-Scots are just kind of sitting here soaking damage. It's really the best thing they can do. T-55s peeling off on these T-50 or AMVs, just make it less confusing. We have some Zolos also pushing back, and it's actually just enough damage to force a little bit of reposition from the tank. T-80, oh my god, it's within range of the infantry. He's pulling it back. He knows this is a big problem, and the T-80 dies. That's a pretty killer win for Perali. T-80s are very expensive, very good, and unfortunately just melt to infantry. Single Moto Strelsi surviving seemingly, but a Moto Strelki from across the way says no. Did you know there's actually a hill here? That's interesting. It's something you don't see from a flat world perspective too well. And as Perali marches over the hill, he has taken the hill location. I don't even know if the hill actually gives a strategic advantage, but we do have Perali actually firing artillery on this location. That's it. The focus artillery is something that will help with this battle. If he can stun enough enemies with artillery, which is a total luck basis, he can win. He does take out a Tunguska. That's a pretty key, big target. However, the Zolos are winding up and wiping out a lot of these Conquerors, and the Conquerors are all gone. There's still one more from the side here. The Conqueror gets another rocket off. Will it be able to kill the Zolos? It gets T-55. That's not bad. This PS-76B recon goes down. Never heard of it. Don't know what it does. And the attack has been largely stopped by this group of units being routed and stunned almost ad infinitum. If he was able to move this all together, the attack would have had a lot more punch to it. Unfortunately, without those units, he's in a little bit of trouble, as most of this flank is getting cleaned up, and I just don't see any future for this UAZ 469 Conquerors. Goodbye to you also, Chichokarov. Look at that name. That's a nightmare of a name. There's still a Strop here. He does need to pull a Strop back. It's not really going to do anything against these tanks. There is infantry here, but is being routed. The vehicle's gone, so the infantry is pretty well isolated. And now he's moving in tanks to try and pick off all these stunned vehicles. He's not using the most powerful, most potent. He's just using these T-55s, keeping consistent. Moto Strelki versus T-55. He knows this is a bad battle. He pulls back. He knows. There's a Flame Piz T-055 coming in as well. And yeah, like, a lot of this has really been shut down for Perali. He has a lot of units here, but he can't really use them. Kind of a problem. If you were to circle them all the way around over to here, he could wipe this Tunguska and could reinforce block. It would be quite expensive to do that, but it would be quite valuable. There is no other reinforcement point on the map here for Lastfox except for this one. In fact, this is the way things are going. This is not a particularly great reinforcement point because the reinforcement path, I believe, goes straight through middle. It's a very risky area. So now we're seeing an artillery war. It's a little bit of interim. And more vehicles popping in here for Perali. Another big push. Of course, we have Lastfox just rallying up these T-55 AMV-1s and anti-tank weapons. You're actually going to drop infantry on top. Might be successful. It's not getting targeted down in time. And it's going to get... Oh my god, it's so close. Moto's only 5 left. If he can get like a rocket or a grenade off, that would be huge. And he magically pushes his tank back. That doesn't sound right. The infantry didn't do anything, but there's still lots of tanks and tank destroyers peeling away. As looks like another push will get shut down. OT-813. You are a supply truck with a gun. In fact, our artillery crashing here is freeing up this group of units. Moto Strelsi getting killed actually in last minute. That's kind of crazy. And slowly Perali is going to force himself into the game. Artillery fire actually killing a tank there. That's pretty crazy. It usually never happens. And really there's not a great location in this fight for artillerying. if that's a real word, artillerying. He's going for this location here with the T-55. He's able to stun it and push it back, but there's still tons of tanks here. And in fact, Peroli is going to retreat with all his vehicles. It's the right choice. And now we go back and do some interim shelling of artillery. And here's the thing about having an economic lead. You get these nice vehicles. He's bringing out T-80s instead of T-55s, and now he's going to be able to do some pretty sick damage. Higher quality units win in equal battles. Infantry rushing right down the middle. Commander is getting pulled back. He's still going to try and chase it down, though. And all infantry have been dropped, and it's an infantry war zone in which looks like Lastfox will be able to clean this up. Commander is moving back in, pretty confident that nothing's going to happen. We see lots of tank destroyers coming in as well. And Vaidsadkare continuing to be a nuisance. A group of infantry are going to run in towards it. Lots of anti-tank rounds were fired there, and looks like the Motostroki should be able to wipe this Vaidsadkare off the map. And more infantry have been rallied to this forward-sted location. Artillery fire is just absolutely crushing Peroli right now. He really needs to create a better flank than this. He's been relying on this circle of trees here for cover, and he's been getting punished for that. Speaking of Motostrelki coming around forests, here we go. Right out in the open. Like, how is this guy still alive? I don't know. Just a really weird pathing that he took. And in fact, this area here has been reinforced. I think Lastfox is doing a lot of things to secure his victory. And he's been securing a lot of these locations with infantry, anti-tank, and anti-air, just to make sure that a lot of the craziness that comes in the last few minutes of the games just doesn't happen. And speaking of craziness, we can actually see that there is 4 Malkas and a Buratino coming out, 4 per Ollie. So he's looking to get lucky. He is definitely looking to get lucky. And these 4 infantry are going to rush in. Are they going to drop? Oh, they drop. Right on top of T-64, they get 1 kill. More infantry are actually rallying in and going to kill a lot more. Artillery fire is shelling the location as everything is forced pulled back. The Motostoki are isolated and will die. And Madness has intrude. Madness wins. So it looks like the pushes by Per Ollie are mostly stopped. There's still this flank here, but it's pretty well dealt with. The economic advantages that we have seen from Lastfox have paid out in full. He's been getting more units, higher quality units, and he's been able to throw units away also. This is a key thing. The ability to throw away units to gain territory. If you're high enough in points, you can do that. And that just secures future wins for you. So it looks like we're going to see this flank rebuild. And the recon helicopter almost going down to a supply truck. That would be embarrassing. I mean, it's kind of like any war zone, you know, like an American F-35 bomber was shot down today. And it's like, well, what shot you down? It's like, well, it was a hell of a story. We were looking down at a sheep farm and saying, that was a nice sheep farm. And then the sheep farmer shot us down. There's a rocket launcher on the map here for somewhere for Lastfox. Not sure where, but he's one thing that Lastfox been doing very good. He's very aware of the enemy's where the enemy's units are, and he's been able to shell at those locations quite effectively. And now he's slowly moving up into the ring of death. Drops a Spetsnaz on top of the BR, and the Mistas and the Malkas shelling out this location. In-game artillery gets kind of scary because if you face someone who's very good at hitting where you are, or hitting where you're going to be, as opposed to hitting where you are, it can be quite dangerous. Flamepa's out front, looking to get some key morale damage. He does a little bit of it, but definitely not worth the cost. The Zalos now up the Rebel 3 and pushes away the T-80. And here comes more artillery fire. Oh, there's so much artillery fire. And we're not seeing any of the zaniness, which is good. I'm not a big fan of the endgame zaniness. Ruins the flow of the game. He's bringing some Topaz carriers. Kind of weird. And they're going to come in for a flanking move. And are actually just going to bypass the entire army and going straight in for the kill. Now, if these guys can kill a command member, this should prompt Per Ollie to leave 5 seconds early before the official end of the match. fact, there are so many artillery units here for per ollie that they can be effectively artillery fired. And you actually see that a lot of them actually have quite a bit of damage here. Some of them on fire. And he could actually lose his artillery to artillery fire. It's a rare occurrence, but it does happen every now and then. And 2 minutes left in the game. We might see one last push from per ollie, who is basically out everything right now. 1,400 points behind. His opponent has so many vehicles on the map. And his opponent's actually kind of mocking him. Just bringing these topazes in. Says, sup, I got topazes. Big artillery barrage. Kills a lot of stuff. And that was something. Lastfox77 might be a player worth watching. He's done very well to show that he can play with a lot of income. And he has done that. That's something that a lot of players can't do. They can't play with a lot of income. They tend to just buy like 400,000 artillery units or like 10 billion helicopters. But he's done very, very well with that. So Lastfox77 might be worth watching. We'll see in the upcoming round when he faces a round 5 opponent. But for now, my name is Troublemaker, and I will have more great Wargame coverage in the next few days. So thank you guys for watching.